Hi everybody, this is Benita Hudson, your psychic coach, here with June's forecast. First we're going to pick a card for the month. Let's see what we get. Okay, and that's an interesting card. That is the Alleyman card. So we're going to set that aside for now. We'll get out all our die. Let's see what comes about for the month of June. Interesting. We have one sitting in the core, like right smack dab in the middle. We have a few that went off the mat. Most everything has stuck around. There's a lot going on in the past, a lot in Fated, and a few pivotal things happening in the present and in the future. And there's two smack dab in Foundation and in Momentum. So it's an interesting spread already. Let's see where it's going to take us this month. The first thing we want to do is look at the Chaos die. See if anything's going to change as a result of it. It is showing up under Fated. And the face on it is that, I can't see from here, it's a little smiley face. And it's the Joker. So it says, the Joker tips your hand and makes you consult the cards. When this comes up in a reading, choose a deck of cards of any kind, shuffle it, and deal the top card onto the reading in place of this die. It presides in this reading in place of the Chaos die. So, I'll be right back. Using my go-to deck, the Osho Zen Tarot, we will see what card replaces the Chaos dice. Isolation. So, this card speaks to when we've been living in our intellect. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough going on. When we've been living in our intellect and suppressing our emotions, this card points to the importance of starting to unpack those feelings that we've been suppressing. So we'll stick it at the top and see how that informs the rest of the spread. We will also look up the Fate die, which happens to be right in the center. Okay, and the Fate die is called Chance in this case, so it's showing up right there in the center. And let's just see what it has to say. So when it shows up at the core of the reading, Chance speaks to chaos. Nothing can be planned because nothing is certain. Anything could change at any moment. The reading will look into why this is the case and what might be able to be decided to help lock things down. But sometimes chance just means fate has the reins and patience and preparedness should be had. The chance brings what it wants. It could be amazing or horrid. Be prepared. Well, it's kind of hard to prepare yourself for something when you don't know what it's going to do. But at least this is what we're aware of for June, is that we need to work with our emotional intelligence because anything is possible in June. That's basically what we can get from everything thus far. So let's go back to the beginning and see what's what. So our actions die is showing up where? It is showing up under Momentum, and it's a flaming sword. So this is already sounding a little dicey, like, wow, what's happening here? Now we know the flaming sword is about burning things to the ground and starting over. So already, this is an intense reading. So let's just look at it that way, that the momentum we have going forward is a kind of a house cleaning. It sounds like we're going to have to be pretty ruthless. And this might be looking at a relationship, or a situation that you have up until now accepted. Again, remember, you've probably suppressed your feelings around it, and it's basically saying to get the energy to move forward and change things, you're going to have to deal with it. And it's probably going to be a clearing. Like, you're going to have to remove or burn to the ground, not literally, but burn to the ground whatever it is that's been holding you back. So it might be having a very difficult conversation, or making a difficult decision about something you've been hanging on to, or someone that doesn't serve you anymore, and it's time to move on. So this is a pretty practical setup so far. And our alchemy die is showing up under inevitable, and the symbol for it is iron, so it's showing up right here. And it says, in a reading, it speaks at its best to solidity and defense coming from a person. It can defend and attack on behalf of someone. It's a very human defense, physical and protective. So this already is coming across in June as pretty heavy duty. We're going to see how the other die play out, but it is suggesting some pretty powerful things we have to deal with. So something where we may have to say, I'm done with this, and I have to protect myself. In other words, if I'm confronted in a way that is aggressive, I have to be able to stand up for myself and not just take it and allow ourselves to be harmed by that. So the Alley Man is the card that also represents what's going on here, and it challenges us with our own certainty. So nothing in life is preordained. The answers you seek are the answers you already hold. So a lot of times what this suggests is trusting in yourself, trusting your ability to deal with things. A lot of times we will stay with a situation we know, even though it's not working for us anymore, rather than step into the unknown. So leaving that job that doesn't work for you, or that relationship, or making that move, anything where you're stepping into the unknown, a lot of times we'll just suffer silently sometimes, rather than make the change and take that risk. So this is saying, trust yourself, trust your ability to roll with things, to make change in your life. And the Alley Man dice in this case is under Fated, and it's all about community. Interestingly enough, it's very close to the Iron, the Protector dice. So it's saying we're better off in community. So if you are dealing with a situation that's not working for you and you need to do something about it and that's scary for you, talk to somebody you trust. Ask for their support, ask for their advice. If you need somebody with you when you go to confront a person, have that company. Look for what you need instead of always feeling like you got to do it all yourself. You know, if you're part of some kind of community, you've got a close friend or friends, have the conversation, get the support you need. Even if you do have to handle something yourself, knowing that there are people who say, I got your back, I agree, you need to address this, it just makes you feel less alone when you go to tackle the situation. So the Neon dice is up here under History, and it's an attention hog. It draws your eye but offers little in return. It's shallow. So what it's saying here is stop relying on your history. Sometimes we're in a situation where maybe we've known somebody for a long time, or we've been in that job for a long time, and we're kind of clinging to what it was at one time, instead of acknowledging that things have changed. We've either outgrown each other or our needs have changed. And so by clinging to what was and maybe hoping it'll get back to that, we ignore the fact that it's not like that anymore. So part of this is that wake-up call, that reality check. What's actually going on? And am I prepared to address that? Or am I going to keep hoping for things to get better. The autumn die is also under fated right next to the community die, and it's a little wagon, and it's called Journey. So it says, now that you've ended a long process, it's time to see what you've made. This can be all the work put towards receiving a promotion at work, for example, or fulfilling a creative work. So it shows up under fated to say, now that you have burned things to the ground under momentum, under the future work, then what's inevitable and fated is to look at what have you created as a result. One of the mistakes we make when we're looking at big change is assuming that there's just going to be loss. There's always a gain, even if the gain is just wisdom, perspective, maybe finding we're more capable than maybe we thought we were. I mean, for example, what if you're living in a community that just doesn't work for you anymore? And there could be a community that is totally right for you, where you make a lot of new friends, you enjoy the environment, you enjoy the facilities, like the amenities available to you, and you're missing out on that because you won't leave what you know because you're playing it safe. You know, one way of looking at it is we're all going to die. The question is, are you living before you die? Are you truly doing what you want to do, going where you want to go, taking the risk to have the life you really want, so that when your life does end, there are no regrets. There's no I wish or I hope or, you know, what ifs. What if I'd done that? You do it. And you live that life that you really want to live. So, yeah, the autumn die is saying, look at what you create when you do these things, when you address these things. Okay, looking at the elements die, we have it under the past here. And the elements die is wind. And it says, characterizes any nearby dice as fleeting. And that's interesting to me because we already got the one up here in history saying, it's shallow. Don't give it too much attention. We're getting the same thing here, right smack dab in the past. It's fleeting. Don't attach to it. You can't live in the past. You've got to, the past is simply there as the impetus to move forward. You know, a lot of times people will complain, well, because of my upbringing or because of this or because of that, I have these problems. Fine. Now what are you going to do about them? You can either put it on other people's shoulders that they should do something different so you feel better, or you can be empowered to say, so this is my lot, and I'm the one with the power to do something about it. Now what am I going to do? So we have the goblin die. And the goblin die is also showing up under fated, and it's a little goblin with a moon overhead. And it's called obsession. It talks about an unabashed inability to escape a thought or concept, an impossible drive and need for something that you cannot stop desiring. So it's interesting because it kind of stands a little bit aside from the other die that are all about protection, community, and what are you creating. I see that as a bit of a warning. Don't sideline yourself with obsessions. Sometimes the obsession is we get stuck on a situation. You know, when you either you know somebody like this or you've had the experience yourself where you talk and talk and talk about something that's not working for you, or you complain, and but you won't take anybody's advice on it. You won't take action while you're talking about it. And again, you might not be like this, but you might know other people who are. When you talk about it, you burn off that energy and you feel better for a little while, but nothing actually changes because no action came of the discussion. So if you have a complainer in your life and you've given them advice in the past, one of the things you can say to them is, so how did things go when I suggested you do such and such? And if they say, well, I didn't try that, say, okay, well, let's have the discussion again when you have. In other words, hold their feet to the fire. You know, don't come back to me and keep complaining and running the pattern over and over if you're not prepared to take action. You know, another thing you can do with a complainer is to say, well, what do you think your first step is to resolving this? They'll either get mad that you're not showing them any sympathy, Or they'll start thinking about it. And then if they are coming up with ideas, then you can support that and toss some ideas back and forth and help them to find a solution if they want your help. So if it's yourself, if you notice you keep talking about a situation, but you're not actually doing something about it, sit yourself down and say, okay, I've got all this information. I've had it for a long time. What am I prepared to do? What's the difference I'm prepared to make? Now, if we look at the influences die, we see it over here in the past, kind of moving towards the foundation. And it is sun and a flower. So it's a purely supportive, positive relationship with somebody in your life who just wants to see you grow. So it's interesting to me that it moves from the past and it starts to form your foundation. So it could be either somebody who has actively tried to help you move out of this stuckness. What advice have they given you? Even if you're not having a conversation with them right now, think about what they've advised you in the past. How does it help you deal with the current situation? Or reach out to them, ask for some advice. Or think about how somebody you admire, how they approach a situation, and then ask, how would they likely approach my current situation? How does that then become applicable? We're skipping the kindness die because it went off the mat. And the next one is sitting on fated, just on the border of the past. So we'll see how that one plays a part. And it is movement. So it basically says that this quarter and the nearby dice must keep moving. Nothing here can stay stable or settle down. And it's right next to another dice. So it's, again, everything here so far in the past and right near it is pushing you to keep moving. Don't get stuck in the past. Don't get stuck in old stories. In fact, the more you tell a story from your past, the more you anchor it in and make it part of your present. Now, the next dice that we're dealing with is called loss, and it's right next to wind. So this is basically talking about any grief that you have had in the past. Remember, the dice next to it is fleeting. Say, don't let old grief patterns keep you stuck. Grieve and let go. Grieve and move on. And grief can be hanging on to old grudges. This person really hurt you in the past, okay? If they're still in your life, why? What do you need to do about that? How do you need to address it? Is this something that can be resolved with a good conversation? Is this something where this person has shown no interest in treating you better? Then why are you continuing the relationship? And don't tell me it's because they're family. Family is still a choice. If you have somebody in your family who's not treating you well and you've addressed it and they still don't treat you well and you take it, now that's on you. So as you can see, this is a real no-nonsense spread. It's saying don't get stuck in the old stuff. Let it go, and if you can't let it go, do something about it. Okay, and if you have said goodbye and you're still sitting with that, you're still not even sitting with it, you're struggling with it, you're attached to it, then ask that part of you that's in that stuckness, what does it need in order to let go? How do you take that energy that's dysfunctional, because it's not moving forward, it's saying stuck in the old story, right? And give it an impetus to become constructive in your current life. So you might have that internal conversation, say, okay, we're stuck in there. There's nothing we can do to change that scenario. We can't change what happened. How do we want to use our energy effectively and apply it going forward? And it might be doing something really nice and nurturing for yourself to say, maybe that person didn't nurture me, but I can nurture me, and I'm going to do that now. And that can be really empowering because it takes us out of victim mode. It makes us realize I am quite capable of giving myself what I would have liked to have received from that person. You know, we can bemoan a situation where we go, well, that person should have known better and should have treated me better, but they didn't. For whatever their patterns are, they didn't. And looking back isn't going to change it. But if you keep thinking about that, you don't do anything about it, you're as bad in that sense towards yourself as that person was, because you are still repeating that pattern internally long after that person might have been out of your life. You're still allowing them to hurt you. So how are you going to take care of you? How are you going to use that energy to love and nurture yourself? Our next dice is in the present, and it's called Ocean. And the ocean can be unpredictable, and we know this whole spread is all about unpredictability. It's situations that can change on a dime. So it can be beautiful, it can be, tragic, depending on what happens to you on the ocean. It's saying right now is a time of a lot of change. And that's what we got from the core as well. Change is happening, it's inevitable. Be prepared. And the best way to be prepared, from what I've also seen in this spread, is free up your energy for whatever's coming next by resolving anything from the past that you're still hanging on to. Because if that energy is going back there, it isn't available to you to go forward. All right, we have the Metamorphosis die, which is sitting under the future. And in this case, it is the egg. And it says, the egg is the beginning. It may be you or your idea or your project or your journey. In any case, it is a start. So I like that it sits under future, because it's saying that when you've raised everything to the ground here, you've gotten rid of that situation that doesn't work for you anymore, you've resolved it by moving on, you get to start anew. You get to bring your energy to something creative going forward. I just love how these dice seem to be scattered randomly, and yet they clearly form a storyline. It's pretty cool. So when we look under obstacles, that's the other thing that is showing up in the future, and it is oppression. So it says it relates to the ways we oppress ourselves. So we see right here a new start, and right next to it, oppression. Saying, in other words, it is possible for us to move forward, but we have to deal with the ways we've suppressed our energy. Say, for example, you grew up in a family where things were volatile, and the best way to deal with it is to keep a low profile. So you would have suppressed any energies in you that would have been outgoing or expressing feelings like anger or even fear, grief, because there was no receptivity about that. So you held that stuff down. That's why the card at the top here is all about suppressed feelings. So it's saying for you to move forward now, you have to look at the ways you've habitually suppressed that voice, the voice that can indicate its needs, that can speak up, that can create, that can emote. That has to be dealt with if you're going to have a fresh start. Remember, the world isn't happening to you, it's generated from you. So all kinds of opportunities present when we do the work. I've always said, when you say yes to yourself, the universe says yes right back. And it's never failed to be true. So when we say, okay, I'm going to deal with that situation, and maybe I won't see that person anymore, or I'll move on to a different job. If you don't do the inner work on the stuff you're suppressing, it's going to be out of the frying pan into the fire. You're going to create the same scenario somewhere else. So it's basically saying, to have that fresh start, you've got to work on the internal patterns that have held you back. And if you don't know how to identify them, and you don't know how to access them and work with them, that's where I come in. It's my forte to tap into your subconscious, to see the parts of you suppressed along the way, and give you a way to access them so you can support them to awaken. So that part of you that's trapped in that pattern, that can't see, this is a different time, I'm in an adult body, I have other choices now I never had when I was a kid. You can actually help that part to see, oh, I'm in an adult body now. I have choices. This is a different reality. I'm not going to be punished anymore for being visible and vocal. And when you can instill that part with confidence and it can start to speak up, that part of you is going to be energy that's going to contribute to whatever you do next. And as you change, so will the people around you. So if you're used to getting kind of pushed around by people because your energy field says it's okay to do that, I won't react. As you do the work and you build confidence, your energy field says, I'm not somebody you want to push around. I'm somebody you want to engage as a friend, and I can be your friend, but I will not be mistreated. And you won't attract that anymore. And if you do attract it a little bit while you're still working on the pattern, great, that's the universe giving you an opportunity to do something about it by speaking up. And as you learn to do that, I think you'll find you'll need to do it less and less. Because your energy field will just say, don't go there, right? Okay, so under foundation, we have the another dice. And it speaks of someone who means well and tries to do their best for you, but who oversteps their bounds and is controlling or manipulative. Interesting that here, coming into foundation, we have somebody who's been a mentor to you. This could be the same person. Maybe you've outgrown them. Maybe what they're doing now is distorted and doesn't work for you. Or maybe it's somebody else. But what it's saying here is, in terms of your foundation, take your advice from someone who shows you respect. If they criticize you, if they put you down or make you feel less than, that is not somebody that you want to take advice from. If their advice serves them better than it serves you, if you say that doesn't work for me, or no, I don't feel like I need to do that, and they pressure you, red flag, not somebody you want to take advice from. So we're getting a lot of stuff here around boundaries, around clarity about yourself, and how you want to move forward in the world. Now, in the past, right next to the dice that says keep moving, we have this one that says disrepair. So it says disrepair gains clarity and intention when found with other dice to determine what it is that came to be in this state of disrepair. So it speaks to the things in your life you've let go and not given love and care to. So in other words, what it's saying here is the loss you've been through, the stuff that's fleeting, use it, and we talked about this earlier, to nurture yourself. What in you needs to be nurtured so you can move forward. When we stop blaming others and we start saying, so what do I do with that? How do I move forward with what I know? How do I use it as fuel for my own growth and healing? Then we have power. We have power for ourselves in our life. Another dice that's showing up under history is the null dice. And it's an empty space between the suits. So it says this reading means what it means. There's no hidden context. Well, this has been a really straightforward reading. Like, there's really no nuance here. I think everybody who's watching this will agree. It calls it like it is. Our summer die shows up under future, and it is radiance. So I quite like that. And it's about beauty and showing up physically, emotionally, and mentally, being rewarded for being brilliant and lovely. It's our time to shine. So it's very interesting to me that after you've raised things to the ground, in other words, you've gotten rid of everything that's holding you back, it's time for you to shine. It's time to step into the light. It's time for you to use that energy as well to create something new. The only thing that can hold you back is you suppressing your light. Doesn't get more clear than that, right? This is on you. What are you going to do about it? The winter die we can skip because it is not on the mat. And the one dice we still have is the wounds die, which shows up under present. And it's a little dude with an arrow through his head. It's called Arrow. And it basically says, Arrow calls out something that is stuck under the skin, a pain, a wound, or cruel barb from a throwaway argument that resides beneath the entirety of the situation at hand. So, pretty obvious, right? We're talking here about how that stuckness on something we haven't let go of, in this case, can create turmoil, internal turmoil for us. So this is super clear this month. If we want to be able to have the energy to start something new, to step into this life and really shine and reap the benefits of community that is protective and reap the benefits of having created something new, We've got to let the past go, not be stuck on something in the present that's either in the present or from the past, and do whatever it takes to leave the past in the past. And remember, it is not through suppression. You've already done that. You've already pushed that stuff down inside. It's allowing it to come to the surface so you can say, okay, this is still stuck in my craw. What am I going to do about this? It might be there's something external you need to do, some conversation you always need to have that you've never had, some boundary you need to set, or saying goodbye to a person or situation that doesn't work for you. Or it might be something where you go, there's nothing to avail me of dealing with this externally that's not going to serve me. I am, though, going to do the internal work to face that part of me that's still stuck and say, what does that part need for me to move forward? And again, if you don't know how to access those parts of yourself, that's where I can come in. So let's all get to it. We are on the verge of moving toward a time of great growth and creativity where you are meant to shine. Let's do the work to free up the energy to do so. Have a great June, everybody. I'll look forward to seeing you next month. Bye for now.